After being reborn into a fantasy world, Cain von Silford has spent his years growing up into a young man of immense power and prestige. Between saving the kingdom's princesses and becoming engaged to them, earning the noble title of Baron along with his own mansion, and even becoming the fiancé of Tijuana, the elven captain of the Knights Order, the boys had his hands full, keeping his past life and true power a secret. However, when the king and his closest confidants, along with Cain's father, Garm, speak of his exploits, they are more than a little suspicious. After devising a plan to reveal Cain's true power, they're shocked to find out how strong he really is, but swear to let him continue his life in peace, as that's all he wants. With all that concluded, Cain leaves the confrontation in possession of a book by the first king, Yuya, written in Japanese. While going through Yuya's book, Cain learns that he was transported from here, Japan, in his original body when he died back home. Before he can get any further into reading through, his fiancée Tellus and Silk show up. While speaking to him, the girls ask to go on a date today or the next day. But Cain only says that he has something important to do tomorrow. Not wanting to have a prolonged confrontation, Cain flees from his frustrated brides-to-be. Outside the library, Cain has to deal with yet another of his future wives, the Knight Captain Tijuana, who wishes to spar with him tomorrow. Once again, Cain simply claims to have something important going on tomorrow and runs from the scene. The next day, we can find Cain standing outside the Adventurers Guild, fully decked out in his combat attire. You see, today is the young man's 12th birthday, which means he can finally take the first step towards his dream of being a great adventurer. He can finally register as one today. After stepping inside, he gets registered by the receptionist, Rechia, as a rookie G-rank adventurer. Immediately after, he has the bad luck to come across a trio of thugs trying to harass Rechia. Naturally, Cain decides to humiliate them by goading them into attacking and dodging all their hits with ease. Before he can be forced to fight back, though, another adventurer named Claude steps in. Thanks to his reputation and strength as an A rank, the thugs are scared away, and the two noble adventurers decide to share a drink. While speaking to the adventurer, Cain learns that the highest adventurer rank, and the one King Yuya has, is SSS rank with a black guild card as opposed to his gold or Cain's brown card. Not long afterwards, Claude's wife Lena shows up and drags him off to finish the latest quest they've accepted. Meanwhile, Cain decides to accept a goblin slaying quest and heads out, though he's joined by Tijuana on his way there. After asking for a spar, she's excited to learn of his first official adventure and heads off with him, shrieking her duties as a captain. At the sight of the request, several goblins are laid waste to by Tijuana under a boost spell from Cain. Afterwards, Cain has to slay dozens of green lizards that reside in the area as well. After returning to the guild, Cain finds the current acting guildmaster to be quite skeptical of his achievements. The older man refuses to believe that a child like Cain could have defeated green lizard monsters that even A ranks have trouble with. He goes so far as to call the young man by some rather insulting names, though he's stopped in his tracks when the actual guildmaster Eden arrives. Luckily, Eden is far more level-headed than his second-in-command Cedric. After speaking to Cain properly and confirming his identity, he leaves Cedric groveling for forgiveness when he realizes just who he was insulting. Baron Cain, the hero who saved the princess from the orcs, and is even the fiancé of Knight Captain Tijuana, who coincidentally is the little sister of Eden. Knowing that Cain's strength is far beyond the norm, Eden immediately promotes him to A rank so he can take on more dangerous missions. Meanwhile, the seven gods are watching these proceedings from their realm with no small measure of amusement. However, though things may seem pleasant for them now, they need Cain to grow stronger, for soon the dark god Aaron will awaken and do his utmost to bring the world to ruin. Unanimously, they decide Cain needs a new tutor to become stronger. Luckily, they have just the man in mind. After accidentally sleeping in on the day of his entrance exam at the Royal Academy, Cain is awoken by a distraught Sylvia. After reassuring her that it'll be fine, Cain gets ready and rushes to the academy using his teleportation magic. Once there, Cain gets assigned to a specific room for his exam. After arriving in the room, Cain's a bit confused as to why he can't see Telestia and Silk here, but brushes it off in favor of focusing on his exam. The first part is a written test. Luckily, the knowledge from his past life allows Cain to ace all the academic questions with ease, and his new upbringing here carries him through the history questions as well. To the examiner's surprise, he finishes 30 minutes early and decides to take a nap in his seat. Next, the class moves to an outdoor area where their magical abilities are to be tested. This greatly excites Cain. Once outside, the examiner tells the children that they are to fire their strongest offensive spell at the targets that have been set up. They'll be graded based on the power and quality of their spell. Focusing on the first part of her statement, Cain asks the examiner if they can really let loose and go all out here. To his joy, she confirms, and says that a barrier is in place to hold in all forms of magic from doing too much damage. And it does in the case of the normal students who are frankly kind of weak. However, when it comes to Cain's turn, the young man absolutely demolishes the target, the wall behind the target, the forest behind the wall, and a large expanse of land behind it. All that despite using his most basic spell in an attempt to hold back. The physical exam is much of the same, as a bout between the examiner and Cain reveals him to be far beyond even most of the other examiners. Coincidentally, the examiner sparring him is none other than Claude, the adventurer who helped him out the other day. With all the exams completed, Cain heads home for the day. Later, Cain is summoned to speak with the king, Rex, and Prime Minister Magna. Together, the three give him a thorough dressing down for not only causing extensive property damage, but also taking the wrong exam. He was supposed to take the noble's exam at the north entrance, but accidentally took the south entrance's commoner exam instead. Next, on the day of the exam results, Cain is met by Silk, who informs him he's secured a spot at the top of their class. He also learns Tellus was upset about not getting to see him, though that was to be expected at this point. After that, Cain meets his sister, Renee, who tells him he'll have to give a welcoming speech as the top student. Though unprepared, Cain delivers a solid speech and the king shows up to add a few words of his own. To those in the know, his words are almost entirely just a warning for Cain to stop causing trouble. Later, while attending homeroom with Tellus and Silk, Cain decides to choose adventuring, magic, and magical items as his fields of study. Meanwhile, Tellus and Silk choose internal affairs and commerce respectively, wanting to be able to manage Cain's domain in the future. After class, Cain finds some nobles harassing a commoner for making it into the A class. Naturally, he goes to break up the scene, and along with Tellus and Silk's presence, he scares the bullies away. The commoner he just helped out turned to be Parma, an old friend, though this doesn't sit too well with his fiancées. While the two strike up a conversation with Parma, Cain hears a voice speaking directly into his mind. His curiosity fully piqued, Cain decides to follow its directions and go to the library so he can meet the owner of the voice. Once he enters the library, Cain is instantly teleported into a kitchen within a simple house. Here, a man of clearly Japanese descent asks him if he'd like sugar with his coffee. There's just a couple of things wrong with that. Coffee doesn't exist here. And more importantly, this man just referred to Cain with his original Japanese name, Shina Kazuya. The man before Cain is none other than Yuya Hirasawa, better known as the first king, Yuya Esfort. Yuya reveals to Cain the reason he's still alive now, 300 years after his legend came to be, is because he became a god. With the creation of his own world, Fabniel, he became the god of creation and is now an immortal. He explains how Yuya needs to be trained to fight the evil god Aaron, whose seal is weakening even as they speak. If he returns to a world without someone to defeat him, he'll plunge the lands into a dark and twisted game where people are forced to kill each other. Terrified by the idea of his loved one suffering such a fate, Cain instantly agrees to the training. Before the first stage of his training can begin, Yuya hints to him that Aaron is related to Cain's former life as a resident of Japan. With that, he deposits the young man near the ocean, thousands of miles away from the house they were just inside, and tells Cain that a year in this realm is only a day in the real world. Yuya tells him his first test or training is to make his way back to the house. For the next 4 years, Cain suffers through the wilderness on his way back to Yuya's house. Though it's a long and arduous journey, it's one that is made easier by the companionship of Haku, of Fenrir, who he rescues at one point after finding him injured. At the end of his 4 brutal years of survival and EXP grinding, Cain arrives at Yuya's home. Finally, Yuya shares the truth about Aaron with him and how he's related to God. Before turning evil, Aaron was the god of amusement. When he was corrupted, he forced the world's kingdoms into death games against each other for his own amusement. Back then, Yuya was summoned to fight the evil god along with 2 others. These 2 were none other than Cain, or rather Shina Kazuya's parents. This shocked Cain to the core, and he's brought to tears when he learns that they never stopped looking for a way to return to him. That they never stopped loving their son and longing to be with him again. Yet they were never able to. All because of Aaron, who they sacrificed themselves to seal. Determined to become strong and protect his current loved ones from such a fate, Cain moves on to the next stage of his training. This stage consists of warrior training with the elf Darren. For the next year, Cain spends day after day battling Darren until he is strong enough to best the more experienced warrior. Eventually, near the end of the year, Cain finally defeats Darren by awakening the same ability his father used to help seal Aaron, Overload, a massive burst in power. With this, Cain's training is complete. After sharing a heartfelt moment with Yuya over the graves of his parents, Cain returns to Esfort along with Haku and Darren's pet baby dragon Jin, both of whom he's formed summoning contracts with. After returning to Esfort, Cain enters his mansion where a tearful reunion takes place. Though it's only been 5 days for Tellus and Silk, they're no less relieved to finally see him again. No matter what happens, these loved ones he holds dear to his heart are people he will protect no matter what. Aaron can come for the world if he wants, but Cain will be there to stop him. The end. For now. Thanks for watching. If you like this recap, please consider to like and subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell to be notified of any new recaps. And while you're at it, check out this new anime recap appearing on the screen.